Chapter, and it's been wonderful getting to know and working with all these people in this room and others throughout the Northwoods. I feel a connection to the League, like I'm following in my grandmother's footsteps. My grandmother was president of the League of Women Voters in the state of Illinois about 70 years ago. So I feel a deep, long-term familial connection. We'll get started this evening, and we have lots of really exciting stuff happening that we want to share with everyone. And we are going to start with Jane Banning, who has really taken the leadership in our commitment to diversity, equality, inclusivity, and justice.
Good evening. If I talk about like this, how is that? Is that good? Audio? Okay, great. In your packet, you have a statement on DEIJ. The National League of Women Voters policy on DEI states that this is National League. League of Women Voters is an organization fully committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion in principle and in practice. Diversity, equity, and inclusion are central to the organization's current and future success in engaging all individuals, households, communities, and policymakers in creating a more perfect democracy. There shall be no barriers to full participation in this organization. That is from our National League. So to this end, our league, our board endorses the following. The League of Women Voters of the Northwoods is fully committed to diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice, and to the removal of barriers to full participation in the league. We intend to carry out this commitment in everything we say, write, and do. Diversity refers to population groups historically underrepresented in socially, politically, or economically powerful institutions and organizations. We strive to reach out to underrepresented or disadvantaged groups in the league region, in all programming and organizational areas. Equity considers and seeks to balance different levels of access to resources that stem from systems of oppression and privilege. We will work to become aware of and responsive to these disparities. Inclusive groups thrive via their diversity. We strive to welcome and encourage diverse participation and inclusivity in our membership, programs, outreach, and activities. Justice refers to fairness in the way a situation is handled, as well as the result. We commit to understanding and supporting justice. We will honor our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion principles and practices by reading a quote or statement at the beginning of each meeting, starting tonight. This quote is from Talisa Lavery, who wrote, "Confessions from your token Black colleague, true stories and candid conversations about equity and inclusion in the workplace," which was published in 2020. I challenge you to accept that racism, ageism, ableism, classism, sizeism, homophobia, and so on are real and shaping the semblance of your organization. Accepting that fact does not mean that the people you work with and trust are bad people. It simply means that many of them are naive, fearful, and more comfortable with pointing fingers at the innocent than they are with facing and addressing their own unconscious and damaging biases. And we include all of ourselves in that statement. We encourage each other to embrace ideas and practices of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and justice in all of our activities. Thank you.
I would like for people here to just affirm our commitment to DEIJ by raising your hand and saying, I agree.
I agree.
It's something that we have, every single one of us has to learn to incorporate in the way that we operate. And we're all on a journey, right? Isn't it always? It's the we are engaged fully in the political process, but we do not endorse any individual candidate. That is the big difference. And we encourage and want to include diverse political opinions in our conversations and in our debate. We believe in democracy. We believe in an educated electorate, and this includes everyone. However, we are living and working and operating in very divisive, difficult times, because as a political organization, we do support very specific issues. And unfortunately, issues have gotten confused with parties, with political parties. And that's the reality of what we're living in right now. And I just want everybody to know that as individuals in this room, many of us are very partisan in our politics. But as an organization in the League of Women Voters, we are committed to inclusivity into civil discourse and civil debate and education on the issues. And that is our commitment. And I truly believe in my heart of hearts that it's more important now to educate voters around the issues than ever in my lifetime, maybe. So we got a lot of work to do. And given that, I want to say we encourage people to participate in the march that's coming up Saturday in Minocqua for reproductive rights. The League of Women Voters is committed to women's right to choose and to reproductive rights. And there will be a march Saturday in Minocqua, meeting at 11 a.m. at Veterans Park in support of women's health care rights and pro-choice. So I want to make that announcement. I think we're going right on to business. Belinda, are you ready to talk about budget?
Ready.
And everybody should have a copy of the budget, or it should be close at hand, plus notes. Thanks, Pam.
Always ready to talk about the budget. Yeah. Actually, in my former life, I was a statistics professor among a psychologist. I taught statistics, research, measurement, all of those things. And I loved it. And I think my students, most of them loved it. So I went into, I'll be very short, but I went in, I lived in Rockford at the time, and I went into the Rockford Public School District offices where the superintendent and all of his higher ups were there. And I walked in and he kind of sheepishly shook my head and said, "You remember me from your statistics class?" And I said, "Yes." And someone else came bowed and said, "It's the hardest class I ever took." but others I kept from crying, so. So we will not cry through this budget. It's a good budget. I want to talk a little bit very first about our membership. In the past, not last year or this current year, but the year before, we had 75 members and we dropped down with COVID to 68. Now, the interesting thing is we had 52 renewing members, but we had 16 new members. 16 new members. So that means we're doing some right things and we're growing. And so let's help this grow. I want to talk most importantly about a dues increase. If you will look at the chart that's on the notes page, I thought it would be helpful to you if I outlined how your dues money is allocated. So you can see our various categories, our individual member, our additional household member, student members, sustaining members, and a new category this year, I feel like with the Oscars, and a new category this year is sustaining individual member and one additional household. In the past, you had to pay the sustaining membership if you wanted to give extra support to the organization, and then pay again for someone else in your household. Well, we decided that we would be very grateful for $150 and wouldn't ask you to pay for the additional household member above the $150 if you chose to be a sustaining member. You're only required if we pass the dues increase as an individual member to pay $75. That's an increase from $67. So we brought it up $8. You may be surprised to know that of your dues, last year, only $5 came to our branch. And we do a lot of look around the room, and you're going to hear great things we do. It's very hard to do that on $5 a member, plus grants and so on. So we're asking that we increase that by $8 from 67 to 75. Now, if you join and someone in your household joins also, they are about half price. So they would pay $40 under the increase. That's $4 extra from last year. Student members stays the same. Sustaining individual members, for those who can, some folks decide they just want to show their support by paying $150. And if you'll notice, we had 8 of our 58 members last year, 8 of our 68 members decided to be sustainers last year. And then the sustaining individual member and 1 additional household member. So while I'm talking in the budget, you're going to have to examine your heart, see if you're willing to pay that extra amount of money, and let's pass this dues increase and give us a little extra to work with. And after we go through the budget, Pam will hold 2 votes. First is on dues increase. Second will be on approval of the budget. Okay? The budget is written as if you had approved that dues increase. See how confident I am. If you choose not to, I can rewrite it. You know, that's not hard. Along those lines, I want to mention that we do want to be open to everyone. And so we do have scholarships, and no one should ever shy away from asking for a scholarship if you or someone you know needs assistance. We have members who have donated full scholarships, so we have the money. Don't hesitate. And just ask any board member, any member, they'll find me, and we'll get your money. We'll get your dues paid for you. At the top of your notes sheet, and by the way, the purpose of the notes is to answer all of your questions that you didn't even know you had before you start looking at the budget. At the top, it says that our current checking account balance is $11,654.12. Today, that's not true. Our balance is $10,833.98. We've had some expenses. They've been great expenses, a lot of voter services expenses tied to grants. So just wanted to be upfront and let you know that our current balance is $10,833.98. Other important things to note is that I've changed a budget line with the consent of voter services and their support. Voter services advertising was a little misleading. You might think that we're putting ads in the paper that are costing lots of money and so on. The advertising is what you see behind you. So we really changed that line to projects. So any voter services project that's not a specific line item is now not advertising, but projects. We have diverse political interests, and one of those interests is climate change. And so we are members of an interleague organization. One of those is the Upper Mississippi River Region Organization, and the other is the Lake Michigan Region Organization, fighting for clean water, protecting our lakes, protecting our rivers. We are members of these organizations, and for the first time since I've been a member, at least, we have 2 representatives, Susan Knight and Susan, we don't know you yet. There you are, Susan. Thank you, thank you. Susan's going to be our liaison, and she will be attending a meeting, convention soon on our behalf. And for the Lake Michigan region, Tom Giroux, who's not here tonight, is going to be our representative. Both folks are extremely qualified. I'm so proud. Not only do we have representation, we can contribute with knowledge, and that's so, so important. Something you might wonder about if you have looked at the budget is that line that says funds applied from checking account. So each year I kind of figure out if we really do spend all the money we say we're going to, and we never do, but if we did, how much would we need to have in reserve from our checking account to meet our bills? So I put that line in. Last year, for example, I put in that we would need $4,896. It's May, we haven't drawn on that at all. Okay. So I put a similar amount in for next year. I don't expect to draw on that except for one particular bill. And Petra's probably going to tell you about Club Express. And when she tells you about Club Express, very exciting, by this time next year, among other wonderful things, we're going to be able to pay our dues online. So that just is so, so convenient. And but it has a startup fee of about $1,500. Now that's not something our budget normally can, add. So with the money that we have left from this year, I'm holding $1,500. So when that bill comes due, we'll have it. So that's what that funds applied from checking is. Other than that, those are the notes. If you look at our budget, I have to put my glasses on. I can't look at you because I can't see far and near at the same time, as many of you know and have experience. It's about a $13,640 budget, a little less than $1,000 than last year's budget. Doing some exciting things. We've kind of gotten into grant writing, so that's a pretty cool thing. We've not budgeted for that last year. Hoping to do some grant writing again this year. We don't have many ways to earn revenue. We've not done any fundraising. Hope not to have to, but if we ever did, we've got some creative folks here that can figure out how to do that for us. So our money comes from our dues, from contributions from you and non-members, from grants, and then I don't know what miscellaneous would be, but I always like to have miscellaneous in there, just to cover whatever I didn't think of. And by the way, I'm saying I is not really correct. If I were the budget committee, okay? So we have a budget committee that reviews the budget that I prepare and gives suggestions. This year, the budget committee was Joan Hauer and Sarah Olson and Pam. So they all looked it over, made sure it was in good shape, and that I could bring it to you. It's pretty self-explanatory looking down the expenses. State PMA, and national PMA, those are our state dues and local dues, and I'm getting a signal that I'm to ask for questions. Do you have any questions before you're ready to vote on this? Dorothy?
Would you define what PMA?
P, I don't know which one is which. PMA is the state, PMP is national. So we get a bill. And when we get that bill, I have to send money to the state or to the national organization. Thank you for your question. Did that do it? Good. Anyone else have a question? Yes.
This isn't a question, but I have to acknowledge that your budget report is the most lively, entertaining.
Yes.
That I have.
Gotta love those numbers.
You make me laugh.
Pam is going to call for the votes on the budget and for the dues increase. If you do choose to have our dues increase, I'm going to pass around the new member enrollment form, which has the new dues amounts on it. If you are a current member, all I need is your name and your category, unless address, phone number, anything has changed. You don't have to fill out everything. New members, fill out everything. Hello, Hedwig. All right.
I gotta get out of the line of fire.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Our budget has never been so organized and so beautifully laid out. Does someone want to make a motion that we accept the dues increase? Joan Howard, and seconded by Pat. I think Lori's taking the minutes, yeah. She's got that. So all those in favor of the dues increase, say, hey, yay. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Great, it passes unanimously. Yay.
So when you get this form, you can choose to fill it out. If you brought your checkbook, you want to do that tonight, or you can take it home, mail it in, it comes to me, and we're all set.
Great, thank you. Now I will entertain a motion to accept the budget as presented. Beth? Great. A second, Jane Manning. Is there any further discussion on our budget? Steve?
Yeah, my only concern is under delegates that you've reduced it pretty significantly. And I have to assume that part of that was because of COVID and not being able to participate in person. When does that cycle begin and end for delegates? When do you send people and
Yes.
because we seem to be coming back into some semblance of normalcy.
Right.
And are we underfunding that line is my only concern.
That's a great question.
That's a great concern, and what we've decided to do is if there are opportunities and people who want to take advantage of those opportunities, we'll take it to the board and we'll get an increase in that line.
Okay.
And we'll work that way. We don't want to exclude that, but we carried it for years and weren't able to use it, so we just reduced it. But we'll make it available.
But it is important and we'll increase it as needed.
And it's a bottom line budget, so we'll make it work.
Absolutely, it's important. Any other conversation on the budget? Questions, comments? Dorothy?
I just want to give a heads up, and this is far from a done deal, but there is a move afoot to, on the National League, and filtering on down, that the National League chunk of the change that we submit as dues should and will not exceed 1/3. And so 1/3 for national, 1/3 for state, 1/3 for local, and I'm certainly going to advocate for that because our most effective work, our most meaningful work, in my humble opinion, is done right at this level, the local level, and we gotta put our bucks where the bang is.
Absolutely. Who is the famous, was it Tip O'Neill or somebody who said all politics is local? It is important. We've learned a lot about the importance of our local elections, haven't we? I will call for the vote. All those in favor of accepting this budget, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? That's my son talking in my ear. You have to ask for abstentions. Okay, that's great. Thank you, Belinda. Passed unanimously. All right, moving right along. I want to recognize our current new board members and our current board members, but I want everybody to know that our board meetings are published on a calendar. They're open to all members. I want to more and more encourage people to participate in the board meetings. You have full voice in this organization, and the board will take agenda items from all members. If there's something that needs to be discussed with the board, and the board is open. So we want to invite people to participate. We want to post the information on when we hold the board meetings, and just let you know that the leadership core is open for all members. And we want to hear what people think and what they want to do and what's important to them and the kinds of things that we can do. So first, I want the current board members to stand and be recognized. Jane Banning, Dorothy Skye. We have our new Susan Knight. Welcome to the board. Lori Block, who has very graciously accepted being secretary for another term, so we really appreciate it. Dorothy Skye, who's also the president of the Wisconsin State League of Women Voters. So we are very connected to the whole state and appreciate your leadership, Dorothy. Sue Dirksen, who is actually going off the board now, but chairs is the team leader for our voter services, and you'll be hearing from her in a minute. All right, this is the part that I have really been waiting to share. No, more business first. We did hold a vote on bylaws change online, and it was passed unanimously, and it was just some language changes based on how we actually operate. I think I'm explaining it all right. Right, Belinda?
Yes.
Yes. And then we also had a vote for our new board members, and Jessie Dix, who is joining us via Zoom. And we're excited to have her on our board. Beth, and our new board member, Beth, welcome. I'm sorry, thank you. A little tunnel vision going on here. We have a number of teams, and we really changed our language from committees to teams. And we have teams and we have team leaders because we want, the only reason to do this is because it's fun, right? And because it has meaning. And it's the kind of thing I joke with people, not that I have anything against knitting or quilting. I have many wonderful friends that are fabulous knitters and quilters. I happen not to be one of those. And so people are always saying, what do you do for fun? I said, well, I participate in the League of Women Voters. All right. The part that I was really looking forward to this evening was to recognize some of our super volunteers, folks that really do the work. And the work is, most of the time, it's fun. It's fun kind of work. And you get to do it with really cool people. So that makes it even better. But unanimously, and all the people that I'm going to mention, is, it's only part of what it takes for any organization. It always takes everyone's, and everybody showing up is so important, and there's opportunities. But I just do want to lift a few people who, during these tough times, the last year, have really, carried the load and done a lot of the work. These beautiful flowers you see in the little pots, all of the volunteers I mentioned today, one of those is yours, so you grab one on your way out. It's just a token of a thank you. Everyone unanimously wants to mention Yo Mustel. If you would please stand up, Yo has been the rock of the League of Women Voters of the Northwoods for years and years, and she patiently trains new people in helping with the Vote 411 process, and did so much work on the Vote 411 this year. And it was a completely changed system, and had to learn the whole thing. But we couldn't do it without you, and we love you, and so thank you. Others who have provided support for Vote 411 and the Voter's Guide in this year: Kira Oz, a new member, and here, thank you, Kira. Jackie Cody and Candy Sorensen, who are not here, so I'm hoping that someone who will see them soon can take their plants to them and let them know that we're recognizing them for their service to the League. We have to give a big thank you to Kay Hobbes. She shows up and participates time and time again, and we really appreciate it. Dorothy Sky, your love for the League has spread to all of us. Your thoughtful leadership connects us with the state and national leagues, as well as our shared history. We need and appreciate your thoughtful questions and challenges that keep us focused on the strategic plan.
And I like you, Pam. I like you, but I was using the word like it's also, I'm in the League of Women Voters because my mother is in the League of Women Voters.
Hey, hey, it runs in the family, coming from good stock. Jane Danning, have to recognize. I can't say enough about the significance of your leadership in our DEIJ focus, including reaching out to youth and citizens with diverse political perspectives. We need you. Petra. Petra was on the board. She provided leadership there. She is our head techie. And is with learning the new technology. My brain, my gray matter is wrinkling faster than it has in years. She's put us on the internet, social media, and has recently run for local office and did just a fantastic job out there participating in the community. Lori Bloak. Her role as a league board member and secretary, her good humor, but no nonsense focus, and excellent note taking and organizational skills keep our board on track and according to our strategic plan. And we love you and you're fabulous. Sue Dirksen. I tell you, your persistence in seeking out membership and information about the league was amazing. And we learned so much from her process of some of the things that we were doing wrong and how we were not getting the information out to new people in the community. And so she's really brought us along there. But she has stepped up as a leader, been on the board of directors. She leads our voter services team. She's written these grants we've been getting. Her commitment and energy are really propelling us into the future. I'm thrilled to know you. Belinda. I don't know if I can say much more than has already been said, but I love you and I love working with you. And she is keeping us accountable, and she has our books, just so you guys know, so that when the next person comes along, it's going to be easy to show them exactly what to do. So we're trying to do things so that we can pass it along to the next person without a glitch, or maybe little glitches, big glitches. Joan Howard. Yeah. You're one of my favorite people in the world anyway. She already knows that. But she's one of the people that steps up. She quietly shows up time and time again. If you need somebody to work on a committee with you, Joan is there. And she provides an intelligence and a depth of knowledge that makes us better. It makes us more professional, it makes us better.
You're just saying I know.
She's currently serving on the program committee and the budget teams. Program team and budget team. Cheryl Hobbes. You help keep us connected to our history and what this league, what our current league has been doing, where we come from, how we've grown. And she heads up our programs team. And we've had some absolutely fabulous programs. I don't know how many people here have participated in the league programs, but they've been outstanding. So thank you. Sarah Olson. She is an early adapter. She was an early adapter to all of this technology and all of the changes that we've gone through. And she has this nice, calm, steady demeanor and just keeps on plugging and keeps on moving forward. And she's a GSD, and I love GSDs. Get stuff done. And so we couldn't do it without you, Sarah. We love you. And last but not least, Louise Schatz. I have to say that I personally have learned so much from you and so much appreciate our friendship. But she is a doer also, and one of those people who just steps up. You know how much you need people just to step up? And no organization functions without people that step up. And we thank you, Louise. So I would just like to have all of the volunteers that I mentioned stand up and let us give you a hand. Sure.
To acknowledge that several of the members that you have acknowledged for their local league contribution have also stepped up to become members of state league committees, and we're still calling them committees. We'll get it there. Peter with tech and communications.
Right.
And Sue with voter services. Jane with DEIJ. And Yolanda Mistley is going to be a member of the state board.
Hey, all right. That's great. Thank you, Dorothy. I appreciate it. And I want to remind you, please take a flower with you when you go as a small token of our thanks. Now we're going to hear from our teams about some of the work that they are doing and have been doing. And I'm calling Sue Dirksen up to talk about voter services.
Oh, I just don't have much to say.
Hi.
So it has been a crazy year with voter services better. About a year ago, I drove everybody crazy because I said, we need a strategy, guys. We need to get together and look at this. So I went through and picked out the names of anybody who had ever been involved with voter services. And we started with some large meetings, Zoom meetings, which were a little crazy to begin with. Everybody hung in there because we were meeting every other week because we needed to figure out what we were doing. And so we whittled it down to, we have a purpose. Our purpose is to get out there and to inform and educate not only our current voters, but those future voters of the Northwoods, and to make sure that they know that we're out here and what we're doing and what they need to know. And we broke it down into 3 buckets, which are pretty much, our access, our programs, and then our accountabilities and our FXCs. So with that, we were able to start going, okay, what are we going to do? Well, one of the things you need is a map, which in our case became a calendar, because we were missing so many opportunities to get in front of the community. So with that strategy in mind, and I've got to say, looking across this room and even some of the people that aren't here, there are so many people that have stepped up and jumped in to help with things. And, you know, nobody wants to do it all, but with all of us, we get it done. So I really appreciate everybody hanging in there. And where we've kind of landed at this point is we have a core team that is made up of myself and Jane and Dorothy, Kay, and Yo. And that's because everybody else dropped out on us. But we're keeping it going. And what we really are trying to encourage is the volunteers, all of you, to find that niche, whether it's one little piece here or one little piece there, and to jump in where you feel comfortable. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. The other side of things that are really encouraging and really fun this year is, you know, at the state level, and I think even at the national level, there's been a focus on youth. And I'm really starting to work to build that pipeline and those voters in the future. And those that were involved at the state level, I think I got the email from Dorothy, I got it from Pam, I may have got it from somebody else. The League of Women Voters Education Fund had a grant out there. And it's like, what the heck? Let's see what we can do with it. So applied for that grant. Not only did we get it, I have to tell you what an educational piece that was. Because the one thing I didn't realize was, you know, what we do locally, we know, and, you know, we're branching out there. But there are so many resources, not only at the state level, but at a national level. And yes, my email box is full of all kinds of League of Women Voters stuff, and I miss things. But I've gotten on to some Zoom meetings that I was blown away by the energy and the things I learned and the things we copied from them, which I'll talk about too. The other piece I realized was even in our region, and I will just say, and it's no big secret, we are pretty bad. No, I don't want to say it that way. We have an opportunity to cover all 6 of our counties. Right now, we only cover 3 basically. And I get why. I mean, that's where the majority of our members are. But we all drive a lot. I just drove almost an hour to get here. So if I drive an hour the other way, I'd be in Anago. So, you know, we need to start thinking about it differently. So when we got this youth grant, part of this youth grant is that we engage with the youth, which having that criteria there and kind of doing a little creative writing about what we could do with that money, that kind of set in place what we needed to do with that money. I don't know if you all realize, I didn't, but there are 11 high schools in our 6-county region, maybe more. I might have missed one. So one of the pieces that we did with the money that we got was we thought about getting in there because, you know, our one of the things we do a lot is on-site voter registrations in the high schools. And so, you know, some of the materials we had were really outdated, really needed to be revised. So some of that money went to make posters, which, yes, kids still are into posters a bit, but it also gave us an opportunity to send a letter to every one of the principals in those 11 schools, along with about 12 posters, saying, will you please put these up? And I really feel bad because I forgot to bring those posters. Anyway, they were kind of cool. One of them was like, out of here, but don't forget to register. You know, so that was an inroad. It also was an inroad with those schools because we wanted to talk to them more about how we could partner with them and what those kids, students, I got to put that too, what those students were interested in. One of the things, I'm kind of jumping ahead a bit, but I got very excited because Antigo wanted to connect with us. That's a region we never work with. And it also worked well because one of the individuals who's not a member, but has been involved in a brainstorming session we did, had a connection in Anago. So because of that, we were able, Jade and I did a brainstorming session with a couple of the seniors there. Those kids were all over how that school's run and not being run and how they wish they had more input into the school board. So you can darn betcha, we're going to work with them next year when elections come around, and we're going to work with them to actually get out there and hopefully host a candidate forum in their school district. So that was one of the cool things we did. The other thing was, backing up a little bit, we didn't know what we didn't know. So we reached out to members of the community as well as our members, and we said, hey, we need to do a couple of brainstorming sessions. And met some great people through there, some great ideas. And from there, we're looking at some projects that we could do to involve youth in the region. Also led to, you know how your mind just freezes? I've got too many thoughts going. Anyway, we also jumped out there to figure out in the local community, Jane knew that there was a group of youth that were working on a skate park project. Through Jane's connection, she worked with them. Those young folks did. It's amazing. And you can bet we're going to be supporting them and they're going to be supporting us. And we're hoping to do more things like that because we've got to figure out how to get to students where they live. The other thing that we kind of borrowed from another league is that they were doing birthday bags. And as goofy as that sounds, somebody on one of the calls brought up the fact that there are actually a lot of students in our region that other than their peers at school, they aren't getting much recognition on their birthdays. That's just kind of how it happens sometimes. So if you get a chance, the back table over there on the right, there is actually a bag sitting there and a picture of all the stuff that went in those bags. And I got to tell you, it's kind of funny when we go into the schools because we got this big box full of bags with, confetti paper and ribbons. And the feedback that we've gotten so far is they're going pretty good. There have been over 100 bags delivered to 4 different schools. And the schools are very excited to get them. Jane has pulled in some help putting those bags together. Some of you have helped with that, with writing the cards. There's a handwritten note in a birthday card in every one of those bags. So we're still doing follow-up to see how that works. Eventually, we're hoping to reach out to even younger kids and to be their kids. When they're in grade school, they're kids. So a lot of work going on in the youth, and that's going to be one of our prime focuses over the next year or so. The other grant we got just kind of popped out there in an email one day. It was from WEPEN, the Wisconsin Public Education Network, and they were doing mini voter grants. And so I applied for that for the league as well. We received $500, and with that, we were able to buy this little guy right here, Mr. Hedwig, which actually is known as an owl. So that will advance our capabilities of doing hybrid meetings, which in the future, hoping next year, even in this coming fall, to work with the high school students again, to be able to utilize this and do some candidate forums and get some other meetings going. So we've done just some really cool things with reaching out for those funds and getting everybody involved. There's a lot going on, and I won't bore you anymore. And at this moment, I'm going to turn it over to Yo here for a second, because Vote 411 is also another big focus. So this lady rocks in that part.
Vote 411 is a site that I hope all of you have used and know about. We want everyone in the community to know about Vote 411. It's a one-stop shop for any information having to do with elections and voting. It's general information as well as state-specific information. And around election time, there are voter guides for all of the candidates that will be running for all of the offices. We started with the voter guides in 2015 or 14, with a couple of years in between where we didn't do it. And we continued to the present day. Our most recent elections in the spring this year, as you know, there were many candidates for the local offices this year. It was the first year that we had a voter's guide for the primary that happened in February, because there were so many people running for office. We had fairly good participation by the candidates. About 50% of them did participate in the guide. Then for the spring election, that had, let's see, we had 138 offices, but 204 candidates. So you can imagine And that's only in 3 of our counties. That's the issue in the spring. There are so many local elections that we cover. We can't, unless we get more people to help us, you guys out there, we can handle more counties. But then in the fall are the partisan elections, and there are only 3 offices that we'll be covering in the fall. That's county clerk, not county clerk, county court, I gotta look it up, sorry. County coroner, and not all counties have coroners. Some coroners are appointed rather than elected. County clerk of courts and the county sheriff are the 3 positions that we would have in the fall. So we'll be able to cover all 6 of our counties, I hope. So I'm hoping that some of you will volunteer to participate in Vote 411. Kira was one of our first people that had help us to call the candidates to ask them to participate. As we send out emails, we get their emails and invite them to participate. Most of them don't respond, so it's good if we can contact them personally and motivate them to participate. So hopefully we can get more than 34%, which is what we get for the April election. So the more that participate, the more that people will understand who they should vote for. Any questions? You want to add anything, Sue?
No, I'll just talk some more.
Huh?
I was gonna say thanks to you. Thanks to you, I've become a Facebook stalker, something I thought I would never do, but those candidates weren't answering me. So you find them on however you can find them to get their information. So I know that the brain only absorbs as much as the behind can endure, so I'll hurry up here. One of the things we did that everybody, I think, is very excited about, that first table in the back there, we revamped all of our material. And part of that is because the logo for the league changed, as well as the fact that if you're familiar with QR codes, thank you, Yo. QR codes, you can track those, but we had no way of knowing where ours were going, and it kind of sounded like they were going to the state. And working with our national people, they were able to do the QR codes, so anybody that uses those QR codes, those now come directly back to a report for the Northwoods. So we know now where these are getting used. So even the ones that we're putting in the schools, we're going to get data off of that. So that's going to help us a lot to know where we're going with it. The other thing that we did is we put together kits. At the end of the table, yo, you're just like a Vanna White. This is we went out and bought folio bags. So everything that's on that table, including the posters, and then we have the poster stands that are lightweight. It all fits in one bag. So when we go out the door, it's no more luggage boxes and 6 little tote bags. It's all in one. So as we have people that volunteer to help with different events, it's all together. Our next step is going to be to get one of those kits in like 4 basic regions, so that a lot of times, I know National Voter Registration Day last September, we ended up having 3 events in one day. And we had to get stuff spread out and make sure everybody got what they needed. So we won't have that issue anymore, which is great. That's where the calendar comes in. I really hope everybody will take a minute just to look at the calendar back there. It's on the table, and there's another one laying down that you can write on. If you can think of any other events or things that we should get involved in, if you think about it, the whole thing is visibility. Yes, we want to register people, but we also want people to ask questions. And the one thing we just found being at Nicolay for the Earth Day celebration there, or fair, was that everybody, I think, other than one, that came up to talk to us was already registered. Nobody knew about Vote 411 or what they could learn from Vote 411. And the other piece is we're trying to channel everybody to Vote 411, not My Vote. Because through Vote 411, it will take you to My Vote, but Vote 411 has candidate information, something that My Vote does not. So those are key things that we're really trying to get out to everybody. The other thing is there is a volunteer sign-up sheet back there, and it's just got kind of categories across the top. You're not committing to anything, but if, you know, instead of me sending an email out on every little thing we've got going, if I know, or we as a team know more what you're interested in, we'll only bug you with those emails, promise. The other thing is too that, as you know, with, you know, anything, every little small piece helps. It gets the work done. So if it's writing a letter to the editor, if that's what you like to do, or a phone bank, that's pretty easy, or a text bank. There's so many things we can do now. Or, you know, if you want to just show up, you know, at an event and help, and we will never leave you stranded. If you've never done a voter registration event, we'll make sure you're paired with somebody who has. And as I said, we really want to try to branch out into more communities. So if you're interested in, you know, seeing Annabelle or White Lake or a few other places, you know, those opportunities will be coming too. There's also some car magnets back there. You can always tell who I am. I have 4 of them on my car. So if you see that navy blue Toyota with all the League of Women Voters stickers, there's pens back there, pins. I just encourage you to look at that table and please, please, please take the Vote 411 signs. Those are yard signs. We have 100 of them. The thing about Vote 411 is those go up, they actually can stay up all the time because, you know, if somebody needs to register and check their status, but those also go up probably about 3 to 4 weeks before the elections because people getting absentee ballots, the voters guides are published on Vote 411 already. So I will shut up. I'm just very excited about everything we're doing, everything you have done. Really appreciate all of your help and look forward to seeing you a lot more. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Cheryl, this is the time. I'd like you to talk about programs just briefly and invite people to join the team.
Absolutely. I still have 1 foot in Florida, so I'm not prepared to speak. However, I do want to acknowledge our program committee, our team, Louise Schatz, Sarah Olson, Joan Howard, and Carolyn Payne, who is not here tonight. And we welcome more committee members. This is a great group. You can always use new members or new ideas.
Cheryl makes good cake too.
I have the meetings at my house and I serve cake and tea. So I also welcome new program ideas. You just give us a call, send me an email, whatever, because we're always looking for new ideas. So I have some books back there. Let's see, where are they now? On that table. Been thinking about critical race theory. So there are some books back there on critical race theory. And my idea was, no, I have not read those books. I read a little bit of the fattest book. But look at them and see if you would like to purchase it. And my thought is, we're not having program meetings during the summer. So read during the summer and we'll have a gathering together and talk about critical race theory, which might be one of our programs. So you can copy down, the authors and get yourself a book. As far as some programs, I'm also going to ask you to help me with this, because I want to mention some programs that we have had recently. And the ones that come to my mind are John Bates talking on climate change and the impact on species, and Eloisa Gomez talking about DEI. Can you contribute anything that was particularly memorable to you? No, you can't remember the programs either.
Well, I'll tell you, the John Bates program was absolutely eye-opening for me. I learned so much about climate change in the Northwoods. It was a fabulous program. Yeah. And I learned, that the climate change in the winter has more impact even than the summer. So I mean, it was just so much to learn. It was great. And it does feel it's in pretty intimate programs, even on Zoom, where you can ask questions and you.
Would you like to join our committee?
Thank you, Cheryl. That reminds me that every single member has a contact list of all the other members. And if you don't, shoot an email, call anyone in the league, and we'll get that information to you. So that you know who's on the board, what other members are in your area, and all those good information. Petra.
Thank you, Pam. Yeah, thank you. All right, I'm just going to briefly summarize for you what's been going on in our league for the last couple of years regarding technology, our current environment, and where things are going. Closer?
Yeah.
There you go. Okay. I'm the person who likes to be in the background, so having them all sit here and look at me, I'm not that versed with a microphone, but all right. At any rate, a lot has happened for our league in the last couple of years. Of course, we've had the pandemic, and that triggered, throughout the whole world, triggered a lot of interest and urgency about working and doing things virtually. And of course, Zoom was the first thing that everybody had to discover. But at any rate, we recognize a need to have a more systematic approach to our dealing with technology, figuring out how to use it, and also how do we, especially for us older folks, how do we bring our communications into the 21st century? How do we do it the way it's done these days? So these are have been challenges for us. We formed a team, it's called CPRT, it's sort of long, Communications, Public Relations, and Technology team. And you've met all the team members already because everybody's here. There are many people wearing multiple hats. So the team consists of Dorothy, myself, Sue, Yo, and Pam. So we've made some real advances that will help us and are really putting us in a good place to move into the future. You've heard a lot about growth. We are growing, thankfully, especially at this point, sort of post-pandemic, if I can use that term. We are growing, we want to grow, and we want to be well equipped to handle that growth. We want to work efficiently. We want to be efficient. There's a term, agility, agile. This is a term that is widely used these days by these large software companies that sell enterprise systems to large organizations. And basically, I had to look it up. It means it's able to move quickly and easily. And in this crazy world, in this political environment, with so much going on, it's hard to hang on. I think it's had this impact on us. We moved away from having a situation where we sort of kind of do the same things over again. And we needed to be very creative and find new ways of doing things. And obviously you need the technology infrastructure to support all of that. So I just want to summarize for you the tools that we are using now and the direction that we're going in. Many of you are familiar, well, of course, we have a website and we have a presence on various social media and YouTube, etc. We are using Google Workspace. Many of you are probably familiar with the Google apps and tools. You use Gmail and things like that. Because of the pandemic has really triggered a lot of advancement by these large companies in terms of creating these solutions for organizations that bring more and more functionality. I'm a person who was involved with technology throughout my career, and so I actually punched IBM cards in my first job after college. And so I managed to sort of grow with this technology through the years. And let me tell you, it's just moving as fast as it ever has. And so we're trying to hang on and make the best of all this. Actually, they're very wonderful tools, but Google Workspace now they have versions of it for organizations so that people can collaborate and use all of these tools together to just to allow us to work as agilely and to be able to have all this functionality that really wasn't all that important before. So we are using Google Workspace. We moved on. We have, well, I won't get into the details. I'll just move on. But we have that. It allows us to share files, all sorts of information. Obviously, there's email, other functions that we don't need to go into now. But one of the really cool things that we adopted was a platform called ClickUp, and it's project management basically. Now, I'm somebody who had the opportunity to use the earliest project management tools. And let me tell you, they have come a very, very long way. So it's been, so we are using that. It's so sophisticated and fun. We actually aren't using it to, as good of an extent as we could. But I'm hoping we can continue to take better advantage of that, because it's just a wonderful tool that can make our lives a lot easier. Canvas is a graphic design software that is just wonderful. It's just the coolest thing. I find I have an account myself that I use, greeting cards. Have you ever tried to find good greeting cards here in our area? And then the Hallmark store closed. So my biggest motivation was, I'm going to start sending people cards electronically. So now I just designed my own. But of course, this is a tool. It's very easy and fun to use. And it's incredible what it's already done for us, for our league, in terms of all of our graphics that you see in our communications. These materials, the Vote 411 signs, Sue designed those.
My first attempt, so it's not easy.
The business cards you see, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just a wonderful tool. I can't help but go on about it. Zoom, of course, everybody knows about Zoom, and we're using it right now. But of course, we're not, it's not like we've arrived someplace. This is always a journey. And we are actually going to be, even though these are great tools, we're going to be moving toward a platform called Club Express. And this is actually, Club Express is a company that has partnered with the National League. And one of the really cool things about it is that many of the leagues throughout the country are using it now and are getting together via Zoom and sharing information all the time. And this is all groups that are like what you've heard about tonight. There's IT, there's membership, there's voter services. And so any of us can just hop on to these Zoom meetings and learn from from all of these other people using these tools throughout the country. So this will only grow in time. And I'm certainly not going to bore you with it at this point, but there's just an incredible number of functions that this Club Express platform will do for us. One of them, Belinda had mentioned, we will be able to take payments for dues, et cetera, online, and it actually will automate the distribution of that across the various levels, local, state, and national. But there's just so much more there. There are forums, there are all sorts of, there'll be a members portal, all sorts of things that we are convinced that it'll be well worth it for us to migrate to that. And we'll see how that affects, what we're doing now. But it's just a never-ending journey, technology, because it's always changing and getting better in many cases. So that is our situation with IT. I'm going to just jump into one last topic here, and that's Observer Corps. The Observer Corps is something that a number of leagues choose to do throughout the country. And it's all about taking advantage of the laws that are intended to ensure government transparency. And basically, this is the sunshine laws that give the public access to government meetings. So our league started an Observer Corps 3 years ago. And I'm sad that it hasn't grown a little more, but I'll just tell you a little about my experience. I started attending government meetings, Oneida County Administration Committee meetings. At Stephen's recommendation, it's a committee that, all of the funding, approvals for funding goes through, and it's a great committee for finding out what all is going on. At any rate, I spoke with a woman who is a league member in Door County, and she was also on the county board at the time. And she was a wonderful resource to me. But she told me, just be careful because you might find yourself running for office. And at the time, I just laughed, but actually she was right. She was right. I only lost by 4 votes. 4 votes. At any rate, I digress. So it hasn't grown as much as I like, but I just want to share some of my enthusiasm because even now I'm continuing to attend meetings. As it happens, Stephen is now on the administration committee meeting. So it's been a wonderful experience for me, and I'm trying to figure out ways to share that and to get more people involved. I find it very interesting. There's nothing like, knowing what's going on, seeing the personalities, just all of everything that goes on when you are there present. And also it's allowed me to build a network, to make friends of media, people in the media, and to be known to elected officials and for me to know them. And I just share one aha moment I had. I also attend the town board meetings. I'm in New Bold. Dorothy is too, and so we're sort of, we keep an eye on Dorothy, right? But I had an aha moment. The New Bold Town Hall is uninhabitable right now because it's just contaminated badly with mold, and it will be torn down and a new building built. So I happened to sit through the 3.5-hour meeting where the town board met with the architect and they spec'd out the building. And it was so interesting to me because in the course of hearing the conversation back and forth, I learned so much about how our town board operates, who these people are, what are their needs, what are the gaps in terms of what they need to do their work. And I just sat there and thought, I could have been home watching some really mediocre movie for 3 hours or something. But here, I sat here, I was dog tired, I'd been in a meeting all day. I learned so much. And so it keeps, I won't stop going because I think it's a part of me now. I have to attend these meetings. I want to recognize the other 4 people who are part of this now. And again, the same hats, right? There's Yo and Kay and Dorothy. And who am I missing? Anybody? Tom Giroux is going to, he has also joined, and I think he's been inspired by what is going on at and we're trying to rise up to all of these demands. But if anybody ever has any ideas about how to further inspire people to get involved, it's very rewarding. And you know, I started out doing it for the league, and then I was there doing it for myself. But, and it's not demanding either. We don't have any reporting requirements except to document meetings attended. But it gives us an opportunity if there are issues that are actionable by the league that, you know, we can then move on. So with that, I think I see Pam getting up and walking over here. But thank you, and it's really great to see you all.
It's really great. And I have felt the enthusiasm from everybody too. Once you get involved, it's fun. And to many of us, it's fun doing meaningful things. And we certainly need to work on our democracy. There's no end to work. Did you see the little business cards that were around? I'm hoping that everybody took more than one. Take 5, take 10, take what you need and have them in your purse or in your pocket to hand to anybody that you might get in a conversation with about the league. And you can put your personal information on the back if you'd like to, but it will give them the contact information about the league. And we have them printed up, and they're going to be available to go out on all of our remotes and all of the events that we do. Now I'd like to, Lori, she has put our newsletter together, which I think is a fabulous addition to our communication source. I don't know how many of you have seen the newsletter. It's fairly new, but it's a great way of getting information out after the board meetings. And Lori, come on up and tell us a little bit about it and the contest.
The contest. I had 29 entries. 29, I thought that was pretty good.
That's great.
From 5 people. You know, you all had your chance, so I can't ask you. But we have a winner. And the winner is Debbie Wilson, who's on. And the new name is LWV News for Now. Playing off the Northwoods piece. So thank you, Debbie. And Debbie just had her dues paid for the year.
Old grade or new grade?
If you have any ideas for the newsletter, I'm happy to drop the articles in. Just let me know. Thanks.
Great. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming. we are really looking forward to having more events in person. So we get to know each other better and we can talk about these issues in a safe environment with other people that are interested in the same kinds of things that we're interested in. And that we continue to communicate with more and more people in our community. My core philosophy of life is draw the circle wider and keep drawing it wider and wider still. And so that's how we operate, and it's great. I want to make sure a couple of things that people, when they leave, we have quite a bit of food left over, and I bought a whole bunch of to-go boxes. So I want everybody to take some food with them so that it doesn't go to waste. And hopefully you enjoyed the catering. I thought it was fabulous. That's Julie Pay's. They're gone now, but it's a local Hazelhurst business, woman-owned business, and it caters throughout the Northwoods. So we definitely want to take that and make sure that all the volunteers that were mentioned take a plant home. And we don't have to put all the tables away. We just have to clean up our stuff. So that's pretty cool. But thank you so much for coming, and that's our program for this evening and our annual meeting.